In the crowded aisles of Walmart, Tasha and Derrick, two black teenagers, walked through the clothing racks, excited about finding something for an upcoming school event. But within moments, they're falsely accused of shoplifting by Martha, a white store manager, who sees them as potential criminals simply because of their skin color. The situation quickly escalates and the confrontation is caught on video, going viral. The public backlash grows and Tasha's mother, LaToya, hires an attorney to seek justice. Their fight exposes a systemic issue of racial profiling in retail spaces, turning their story into a nationwide rallying cry for equality and justice. This is a story of resilience, empowerment, and the ongoing fight against racial discrimination, showcasing the power of activism, legal action, and community support. Imagine walking into a store, shopping for a simple jacket, just trying to get a new outfit for an event. But instead of being treated as a regular customer, you're accused of stealing, not because you've done anything wrong, but because of the color of your skin. This is exactly what happened to Tasha and Derrick, two black teenagers. When they walked into Walmart, they had no idea that one moment would change their lives forever. This is their story, a story about racial profiling, fighting back, and seeking justice. What follows will not only shock you, but make you question everything about how we view justice in our society. Welcome to Black and Slain Stories, where we bring you real stories that matter. Stories that shed light on the fights for justice, the struggles for equality, and the unwavering spirit of those who won't back down. If you're new to this channel, we invite you to subscribe, like, and share this video so that more people can hear these powerful stories. We cannot stop fighting for justice. And if you believe that racial profiling needs to end and equality is a right for everyone, comment below and tell us where you're watching from. Together, we can make this world a better place. Now, let's dive into today's story. It was just another Saturday afternoon, and Tasha and her cousin Derrick were excited. The two teens have been looking forward to shopping for weeks, saving up their money for an upcoming school event. Tasha, 17, was looking through a rack of jackets, and Derrick, a teen, was at the shoe section. They were simply doing what any other teenager would do, shopping. Tasha, holding up a jacket, looking at herself in the mirror. What do you think, Derrick? This is perfect for the dance, right? Derrick, teasing her, smirking. I don't know. You look like $1,000,000, but I'm still not sure about spending a fortune on it. Unbeknownst to them, Martha, the store manager, was already watching them from across the store. Martha's suspicions weren't based on their behavior, but purely on the color of their skin. To her, black teens at expensive stores were trouble, even before they did anything. Martha, under her breath, watching them from afar. I've seen this before. They spend too long in one aisle, touching everything. They're probably trying to hide something. I'll keep an eye on them. Martha begins to move closer, her eyes narrowing. She watches Tasha pick up a jacket and walk over to Derrick. Martha, voice rising as she approaches them. I need to check your bags. I saw you hide something in your jacket. Tasha, confused, her voice shaky. What? We haven't hidden anything. We're just shopping. Why are you accusing us of stealing? Derrick, stepping forward, defensive. This is ridiculous. You can't just accuse us for no reason. We're just trying to buy clothes. This is racial profiling. Martha, aggressively, blocking their path. I don't care about your excuses. I saw you both trying to hide something. I'm calling security. You're not going anywhere until I check your bags. Tasha, starting to feel the weight of the situation, voice rising. We didn't steal anything. You can't do this. You don't get to treat us like criminals just because we're black. Derrick, voice firm but calm. You don't have any evidence. We're leaving right now. You can't do this to us. Martha, snapping, voice growing louder. I'm calling security. This is not up for discussion. You will stay here until I check your bags. Tasha and Derrick had no idea that their simple act of shopping would turn into a confrontation that would go viral and expose the ugly reality of racial profiling. The next few moments would change everything, but they weren't backing down. Not this time. Tasha, pulling out her phone, starting to record. I'm recording this. This is how it happens every time. Racial profiling in broad daylight. This needs to be seen. Derrick, getting visibly frustrated, turning to the crowd now watching. Why is this happening to us? We're just two teenagers shopping. We haven't done anything wrong. A few bystanders take out their phones, recording the scene. Some are whispering, while others are shaking their heads in disbelief. Bystander, quietly, to another shopper. Look at this. They're treating them like criminals for no reason. Security guard arriving, his voice firm but cautious. What seems to be the problem here? Martha, pointing at Tasha and Derrick. These two are stealing. I saw them hide merchandise in their bags. I demand you check their bags immediately. Tasha, speaking to security, trying to stay composed. We haven't stolen anything. You can't treat us like this. This is pure racism. Derrick, speaking louder now. You can't do this. We're not criminals. You're accusing us because of the color of our skin. This is racial profiling. Security guard, looking back and forth between them and Martha, hesitating. I'm sorry, but I have to follow procedure. I need to check your bags to make sure everything's all right. Martha, nodding, pushing her agenda. Yes, check them. They need to be held accountable for what they're trying to do. The camera focuses on Tasha, her face filled with frustration, while Derrick steps in front of her, his body tense. Tasha, voice shaking with frustration. You're doing this because we're black. You're treating us like criminals. This isn't right. Derrick, pushing back with force. We don't have to prove ourselves to you. We've done nothing wrong. We're leaving now. Security guard, looking around the crowd, unsure how to handle it. We just need to make sure everything's okay. Please don't make this harder. Tasha, pulling back from Derrick, more upset now. No, Derrick, we're not leaving until they apologize for what they've done. We're not going anywhere until they acknowledge their mistake. Derrick, glaring at the security guard and Martha. This is wrong, and you all know it. You're accusing us for something we didn't do, just because of the way we look. The standoff continued. The cameras rolling as the video started to spread across the internet. This would become more than just a confrontation at a mall. It would spark a movement, one that would demand justice, accountability, and change. Martha, to security. If they're not going to comply, call the police. I'm not letting them get away with this. This wasn't just about a false accusation. It was about the system. It was about how black people are treated every day, in stores, on the streets, in public spaces. But this time, Tasha and Derrick weren't going to stay silent. Racial profiling needs to stop. It happens too often. It happens to too many people. And it must change. If you believe in justice, equality, and fighting for what's right, subscribe to this channel. Like this video, share it, and comment below. What will you do to make sure racial profiling never happens again? Your voice matters. Let's continue to fight together. The scene picks up from where the confrontation between Tasha, Derrick, and Martha has reached a boiling point. The camera is rolling, and the crowd is beginning to gather around, whispering and pulling out their phones. Tasha's and Derrick's voices are shaking with anger, frustration, and disbelief, but they stand their ground. The situation is now being captured for all to see. As the confrontation escalates, Tasha pulls out her phone, determined to document the injustice. Derrick, visibly angry, steps forward. Martha calls mall security, insisting that they search the teens' bags. The situation is tense. What started as a simple shopping trip has now become an urgent fight for dignity, for justice, and for the right to be treated equally. Tasha, holding the camera, voice trembling with disbelief. Look at this. I'm recording. This is racial profiling right here, in broad daylight. We're just trying to shop. Why are we being treated like criminals? Derrick, stepping forward, voice rising with anger. We've done nothing wrong. Why are you accusing us just because we're black? You don't even know us. This is wrong. Martha, aggressively, her arms crossed. I saw you. I saw you hiding things in your bags. You're not leaving until I check them. You've already stolen from me. Tasha, shocked, voice firm but with rising emotion. You have no right to accuse us. We haven't stolen anything. This is just racism. You're treating us like criminals because of the color of our skin. Derrick, frustrated, stepping between Martha and Tasha. This is so messed up. We haven't done anything wrong, and yet we're being accused like this, just because we're black. Do you really think this is okay? Martha, narrowing her eyes, speaking with more force. You need to calm down. I've seen this before. You too can act all innocent, but I know what I saw. I'm calling security. You're not leaving here without a proper check. Security guard, arriving, looking confused but trying to stay neutral. What's going on here? Why are you two arguing? What's the issue? Martha, pointing at Tasha and Derrick, voice stern. These two are shoplifting. I saw them hide merchandise in their bags. They need to be searched immediately. Tasha, voice shaking with anger and disbelief. This is not happening. We are not stealing. We've done nothing wrong. You're accusing us based on stereotypes, not facts. You can't do this. Derrick, his voice rising, stepping closer to Martha. You're accusing us of something we didn't do. You think we're guilty because of how we look. That's racism, pure and simple. Martha, ignoring Derrick, speaking louder. You can't leave until I check your bags. If you don't comply, I'll call the police. Tasha, holding the phone up to the camera, voice firm but shaking. I'm recording everything. Everyone needs to see how we're being treated right now. This is racial profiling. This is happening right now. Bystander 1, shaking their head, filming the incident. What are they doing? They haven't done anything. Why are they treating them like this? Bystander 2, speaking to another shopper, quietly. They're black, that's why. This happens all the time. This is what they think of us. Security guard, looking uncomfortable, his hand on his radio. I'm just doing my job. Let's all calm down. We'll check the bags, and that's all. Tasha, shaking her head, her voice growing louder with determination. This isn't right. You're violating our rights. This isn't just about us. This is about every black person who's been treated like a criminal for no reason. This happens every day. Derrick, getting louder, his voice trembling with emotion. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of being treated like this. I didn't ask for this fight, but I'm not leaving until we're treated with respect. Martha, glaring, clearly not backing down. You need to comply. You think you can walk around here like you own the place, but you're not above the law. Tasha, stepping back, her voice rising with anger. This is what we go through every time. Every store, every place we go, it's the same thing. No one ever listens. We're tired of being treated like this. Derrick, looking at the camera, his voice filled with raw emotion. We're being treated like criminals, and all we're doing is shopping. I'm sick of this. This needs to change. I won't back down. We'll fight for justice. Martha, mocking, rolling her eyes. Fight all you want. You're not leaving until I check those bags. The crowd starts to grow, people pulling out their phones to film the interaction. The tension in the air thickens. Tasha, addressing the crowd, her voice breaking through the noise. Why are we still here? Look around you. We're being treated like criminals just because of who we are. This has happened to so many people before, and now it's happening to us. This needs to stop. Bystander 3, speaking loudly to others around the store. This is wrong. You can see it. They're just kids, and they're being treated like they're guilty of something. This needs to end. Security guard, finally speaking, his tone softening slightly. We just have to check. There's no reason to make this worse. We'll get this sorted quickly. Derrick, defiant, looking directly at the security guard. No, we're not just going to sit back and let this happen again. We need change. This happens every day, and it needs to stop now. Martha, frustrated, raising her voice. I'm not backing down. You're going to regret this. Tasha, speaking directly to the camera, her voice shaking but clear. This is for every black person who's been accused without cause, for every person who's been treated unfairly for the color of their skin. We're fighting back. We will not be silenced. Derrick, to the crowd, as more people gather around, filming. We will keep standing up. We won't be quiet. We're demanding justice. We'll never stop fighting for equality. The camera zooms in on Tasha, her face now determined, tears of frustration in her eyes, but resolute. Derrick stands beside her, his stance firm, looking straight at the camera as the crowd grows larger and murmurs of support rise in the background. As the confrontation continues, the video spreads like wildfire across social media. The world is watching. Tasha and Derrick have become symbols of resistance, and their fight is only just beginning. The world is waking up to the truth. Racial profiling happens every day, and it's time to make it stop. This is bigger than Tasha and Derrick. This is a fight for every person who's been mistreated in public spaces, every black person who's been unjustly accused, and every single individual who believes in justice. If you believe in racial equality, in fair treatment for all, make sure to subscribe, like, and share this video. Comment below, what will you do to stop racial profiling? How can we make our communities safer and more just? Your voice matters. Together, we can make a difference. The scene picks up right after Tasha pulls out her phone and begins recording. The tension in the store is palpable, and the crowd begins to gather. The sound of murmurs, phones clicking, and the intensity of the situation escalate. Martha, the store manager, still insists on checking their bags, despite Tasha and Derrick's protests. As Martha demands to check their bags, Tasha and Derrick's frustration grows. But in this moment, they both realize that the stakes are much higher than just proving their innocence. They were about to become part of something bigger, something that could change everything for Black community. But for now, they only had one weapon, their voice. Tasha, holding the camera, her voice firm but trembling. Look at this. This is happening right now. Racial profiling in broad daylight. We are being treated like criminals when we've done nothing wrong. Derrick, speaking louder now, with more emotion. What do you think this is? We're here shopping, and you're treating us like we're guilty of something we didn't even do. This is not just wrong. It's discrimination. Martha, refusing to back down, her voice rising. I've seen you both hide something in your bags. You're not leaving until I check those bags. You're not going anywhere. Tasha, her voice shaking but strong. You have no proof. You have no right to treat us like this. We haven't stolen anything. This is racial profiling. This happens to us all the time. Derrick, angry now, stepping forward to block Martha's path. You don't get to decide that we're criminals just because of our skin color. You can't just assume we're guilty. This is not right. A few bystanders start filming. The camera zooms in on their faces. Some look confused, some look uncomfortable, and others are clearly siding with Tasha and Derrick. Tension builds as the store security guard arrives. Security guard, looking at both teens and then at Martha, his voice neutral but cautious. What seems to be the issue here? Martha, pointing at Tasha and Derrick, voice escalating. These two are stealing. I saw them hide merchandise in their bags. They need to be checked right now. Tasha, speaking directly to the crowd, eyes wide with frustration. This is why we're here. This is racial profiling. We've done nothing wrong, and yet here we are, accused, judged, unfairly, and you all are just standing there, watching us be treated like this. Derrick, voice louder, addressing the crowd with growing passion. This is wrong. Why is it always us? Why are Black people always treated like criminals? We're not your suspects. We're just two kids shopping, and we shouldn't have to explain that to you. Security guard hesitating, looking between the crowd and Martha, uncertain how to proceed. Let's just calm down here. We need to make sure everything is all right. We're just following store protocol. Martha, ignoring the guard, insistent. Check them now. I'm not going to let them walk away with my merchandise. They're guilty. Tasha, pointing the camera at Martha, raising her voice. You don't get to decide if we're guilty. You don't get to treat us like this because of the color of our skin. This happens every day. People like you treat us like we're not even human. Not anymore. Derrick, to the security guard, his voice filled with frustration and sadness. What if this was you? What if you were accused without cause, just because of your appearance? Wouldn't you be mad? Martha, cutting Derrick off, voice shaking with anger. You can yell all you want. I'm not backing down. I will call the police if you don't comply. You're both guilty and you'll regret this. Tasha, turning the camera toward the growing crowd, her voice powerful and clear. This is for every black person who's been treated like this. Every person who's been profiled in a store just because of how they look. It's happening again, and we won't stand for it. We won't stay silent. Derrick, to Tasha, speaking with rising intensity. This is the moment, Tasha. This is how we fight back. This is how we make sure no one else has to face this. We can't stay silent. We can't let them get away with this. As the crowd continues to record and whisper among themselves, the tension in the air is palpable. A few of the bystanders start to speak up, supporting Tasha and Derrick. Bystander 1, shouting across the room, "Hey, these kids didn't do anything wrong. I'm sick of this. Why are you treating them like criminals?" Bystander 2, filming, nodding in agreement. This is blatant racism. You can see it in her eyes. She wants to make them guilty because of who they are, not because of what they did. Tasha, addressing the crowd, trying to keep her composure. This is our fight, but it's your fight too. We can't just let this go. If we don't say something, this will keep happening. This is bigger than us. Derrick, stepping forward, his voice shaking with emotion. We're done being quiet. We're done being treated like criminals in public spaces. We're done with the system. We demand to be treated with respect. Security guard, finally speaking, uncertain. All right, let's just calm down. We'll check their bags, but we don't need to escalate this further. Martha, crossing her arms, her face red with anger. Check their bags now. No more talking. This is happening. Tasha, to the camera, tearful but resolute. We're done being quiet. We're done being ignored. This fight isn't just ours. It's for every person who's been treated like this, for every person who's been wrongfully accused because of the color of their skin. Derrick, his voice now controlled, but filled with rage. This isn't over. We'll fight this, no matter what, and I won't stop until we get justice. And so, the video began to spread. The crowd of people at Walmart, the witnesses, the passers-by, everyone who was watching, they all took notice. The injustice was clear. And now, Tasha and Derrick's fight wasn't just theirs. It had become a rallying cry for justice. This is the moment we've all been waiting for. Tasha and Derrick's courage to stand up against injustice is inspiring millions. But the fight doesn't stop here. If you believe in justice, equality, and the right to be treated fairly, subscribe, like, and share this video. Comment below. What are you doing to fight racial profiling in your community? We need your voice to create a world where everyone is treated equally. Together, we can make a difference. The courtroom is tense, filled with people who have heard about the viral video and the ensuing public outcry. This is more than a civil case. It's about accountability for racial profiling and the racism that still plagues society. After the video went viral, the fight for justice became about more than just Tasha and Derrick. This was about everyone who's been unjustly accused. It was about holding people accountable for their actions and standing up against racial profiling that has hurt so many. Cynthia, addressing the jury, her voice calm but full of authority. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, today we are not just here to discuss a simple accusation. We are here to address a systemic issue. What happened to Tasha and Derrick was not just misunderstanding. It was a direct result of racial profiling. These two teenagers were accused of stealing not because they did anything wrong, but because of how they looked. This is not just about an unfair accusation. This is about dignity, respect, and basic human rights. Martha's lawyer, interrupting, standing up. Objection, Your Honor. The prosecution is assuming racial bias and prejudging the case. Judge, sternly, addressing the lawyer. Sustained. The prosecution must stick to the facts. Proceed, Ms. Reynolds. Cynthia, nodding, her voice now more intense. The facts are simple. Tasha and Derrick were shopping at Walmart. They were not shoplifting. They were wrongfully accused because of the color of their skin. The evidence is clear. They were targeted, not because of what they did, but because they were black. This is the heart of the matter. The air in the courtroom was thick with anticipation. Tasha and Derrick had no idea how this would end. They were standing up not just for themselves, but for everyone who had been unfairly treated in public spaces, who had been judged and discriminated against simply for who they were. Martha's lawyer, speaking to the jury, trying to downplay the situation. There was no malicious intent. My client, Martha, was simply following store policy. She didn't accuse them because of their race. She accused them because of their actions. She saw them hiding merchandise, and when she approached them, they acted evasively. Cynthia, cutting him off sharply. Standing up, that's where you're wrong. There was no evasion. Tasha and Derrick were trying to buy jackets. That's all they were doing. What Martha saw wasn't what actually happened. What she saw was her own bias. What she felt was fear. Fear that two black teens could never just be ordinary shoppers. She feared them because of the color of their skin. That's why she accused them, and that's why we're here today. The jury watches with focused attention, some members nodding in agreement with Cynthia's words. Derrick, whispering to Tasha, voice shaky with anger. They're lying. We didn't do anything wrong. We're being blamed for nothing. This isn't just a mistake. This is racism. Tasha, whispering back, determined, we've got this. We have to keep fighting. We can't let them win. This is about more than us. We're standing up for everyone. The jury listened carefully, but the defense's case was not over. Martha's lawyer had more tricks up his sleeve. The courtroom was a battlefield, and the stakes were high. Not just for Tasha and Derrick, but for every person who's been unfairly accused, who's been racially profiled. This was more than a court case. It was a fight for justice, for accountability, for change. Martha's lawyer, addressing the jury, trying to regain control. It's easy to throw around accusations of racism, but the truth is that Martha acted out of concern for the store's property. She wasn't trying to target these young people. She simply thought they were acting suspiciously. Cynthia, standing tall, voice sharp. The truth is that Martha saw two black teens and immediately thought they were criminals. That's racism. That's what happens when we let our biases control our actions. And this needs to stop. Judge, interrupting, holding up his hand to restore order. Let's keep it civil. The jury will have to determine whether the actions taken were justified or not. Let's focus on the evidence. The tension in the room was palpable. Everyone was on edge. Martha was fighting for her job, her reputation. But Tasha and Derrick were fighting for their dignity, their rights, and the chance to be heard. Tasha, on the witness stand, speaking directly to the jury. I wasn't doing anything wrong. I wasn't stealing. I was just shopping. I've never been treated like that in my life. It was the first time I was treated like I didn't belong in a store. But I won't let it happen again. I won't let it happen to anyone else. Derrick, testifying after Tasha, his voice strong and clear. We were just two kids. We were doing what everyone else does. But when Martha saw us, she didn't see teenagers. She saw two black kids. And in her eyes, that made us guilty. Cynthia, addressing the jury after Derrick's testimony. This is a reality we face every day. Tasha and Derrick weren't stealing. They didn't deserve to be treated like criminals. They deserved respect, just like anyone else. Martha's lawyer, standing up, trying to discredit the defense. The truth is, there's no evidence. We have no proof of intent, no proof of theft. What we have is suspicion, and suspicion is not a crime. Cynthia, cutting him off, her voice filled with resolve. Suspicion isn't enough to accuse someone of a crime, especially when that suspicion is based on racial stereotypes. Derrick, to the jury, his voice calm but unwavering. What you're seeing here isn't just about us. This happens to people who look like us every day, and we need to stand up. We need to make sure this doesn't happen again. As the day wore on, the weight of the case became even clearer. This wasn't just about the two teens sitting at the defendant's table. It was about everyone who's ever been unfairly treated in public spaces. And as the jury deliberated, one question remained. Would they choose justice or continue to let the system protect those who discriminate? Tasha and Derrick's story doesn't end here. It's up to us to make sure racial profiling stops once and for all. If you believe in justice, if you believe in equality, Make sure to subscribe, like, and share this video. Comment below, what will you do to stand up against racial profiling? Your voice matters. Let's continue to fight for justice. This isn't just about one story. This is a movement that starts with you. After the court verdict, the world is watching. The nation's eyes are on the case, and Tasha and Derrick are no longer just two teenagers. They become symbols of justice. As they fight for accountability, Martha's actions have now been exposed to the public, and the media frenzy grows. This scene will involve the fallout from the court case, the community support, and the reforms that start to take shape. It is a time of intense reflection, activism, and change. Tasha and Derrick won their case. The mall was found guilty of racial discrimination and emotional distress, and the manager, Martha, was held accountable for her actions. The court ruled in their favor, but their journey wasn't over. This victory was just the beginning. The public reckoning had only just begun. But as the media storm grew, so did the voices of those who had been silenced for so long. Activists, social media influencers, and politicians now took up the mantle, pushing for reform. But as always, those who benefit from the system are the hardest to change. Cut to TV interviews, social media posts, and news coverage of the case. The footage is mixed with protest clips and activist rallies demanding policy changes in stores, hospitals, and public spaces. News anchor, TV report. This case marks a significant victory in the fight against racial profiling. The ruling against Walmart sends a strong message. Discrimination will not be tolerated. But many are asking, how far will this change go? Can we truly address racial inequality if the systems that support it are left intact? Activists on the news. This victory is just one step. We have to push for policy changes that address racial bias at every level, from retail stores to the police force to hospitals. We're just getting started. Tasha, interview, voice steady but with a hint of emotion. We're just two teenagers. We didn't ask for this fight, but we're not backing down. We're not stopping until everyone has the same rights and the same respect. Derrick, standing beside Tasha, voice unwavering. Racial profiling happens every day, and people need to know that we won't stand for it anymore. This fight is just as much about you as it is about us. The fight was far from over. Walmart had apologized publicly and vowed to implement new policies. But Martha's actions were far from an isolated incident. The entire system that enabled her behavior was now under intense scrutiny. Public reactions. Soon after the verdict, voices from all corners of the country started calling for change. Celebrities, public figures, and activists began speaking out, demanding accountability from those in power. Social media became a battleground where opinions clashed and protests erupted in major cities. Tasha and Derrick's fight had become a movement. Clips of protest marches, people holding signs like "End Racial Profiling," "Justice for Tasha and Derrick," and speeches from community leaders flash across the screen. Protester holding a sign. We stand for justice, equality, and dignity. No one should have to live in fear of being profiled or treated unfairly. Community leader at a rally. Today we march for every person who's been racially profiled, for every black person who's ever been accused without cause. We march for change. We march for a future where people like Tasha and Derrick don't have to fight for their rights. We didn't ask for this fight, but we have to fight for everyone who's ever been treated like this. Derrick, I don't want anyone else to go through what we did. This is bigger than just us. We're doing this for everyone. Activists, racial profiling is real, and it's happening in every part of our society. From stores to police departments to healthcare, we must fight for change. Protester, if we don't speak up, no one will listen. It's time for action, not silence. Tasha, to camera, we won this fight, but the war for equality is far from over. We won't stop. We can't. Derrick, responding to journalists, this is about accountability. It's about making sure that everyone is treated fairly, no matter their race. Latoya, Tasha's mother, in a TV interview, I'm so proud of my daughter and my nephew. They didn't back down. They fought for their dignity. And that's something every parent should teach their child. Cynthia, Tasha's lawyer. This case is a victory, but it's just one step toward real change. The real work starts now, and we're not stopping until we see systemic reform. Derrick, speaking directly to the camera, we have to keep this conversation going. We're standing up for everyone who's been ignored, disrespected, and treated unfairly. We can't back down now. Tasha, emotional, to the jury, we are here because we believe in equality. We believe that no one should be treated like a criminal just because of their race. We believe in justice. Martha, in a press conference, deflecting responsibility. I didn't mean to cause harm. I was just doing my job. But I've learned that I must do better. Martha's lawyer. The actions of Martha were misinterpreted. There was no malice. We are deeply sorry for the misunderstanding. Tasha, calm, looking directly at the camera. Apologies are not enough. We need real change. We need the world to understand that racial profiling cannot be allowed to continue. Protester, at rally, we are not criminals. We are not what they say we are. We demand respect. Derrick, with anger but composure, we want accountability, not just apologies. They must change the way they treat us. Tasha, holding a sign at a protest, we march for justice. We march for every single person who's been mistreated. Bystander, we see this every day. It's time to stop acting like it's normal. We stand with Tasha and Derrick. Tasha, speaking at a community meeting, we won because we stood up. You have to do the same. We have to do this together. Latoya, speaking to activists, I want to see real change. This isn't just about my daughter. This is about all of us. Derrick, to the crowd, voice rising, we won, but the fight is far from over. We're just getting started. We won't stop fighting for justice. The world was watching. The public outcry had reached a fever pitch, and the movement for racial justice was growing. Martha's apology was just the beginning. The real battle now was for systemic change, for accountability, and for the future of those who have been treated unfairly for far too long. Tasha and Derrick's fight for justice is not over. This is just the beginning. If you believe in equal rights and justice for all, subscribe, like, and share this video. Comment below. What will you do to help end racial profiling in your community? We need your voice, and together we can make a real change. After the court case, Tasha and Derrick are now at the forefront of a nationwide conversation about racial profiling, racial justice, and reform. Their victory has sparked widespread activism, and now they face the challenge of ensuring that change is more than just symbolic. The public pressure mounts as more people demand accountability and policy change. Tasha and Derrick, with the help of their attorney Cynthia, continue to push for lasting reform in the retail industry and beyond. The court ruling was a victory, but it was just the beginning. Tasha and Derrick became the face of a movement that sought to end racial profiling in stores, hospitals, and every corner of society. Their victory, however, was not just theirs. It was a rallying cry for change. Cynthia, speaking to a group of activists, her voice full of determination. We've won in court, but the work doesn't stop here. Tasha and Derrick's story has inspired millions, but we need to make sure that every retailer, every business, and every institution knows that racial profiling won't be tolerated anymore. We're talking about real change, not just symbolic apologies. Policy reform needs to happen. Tasha, looking at the activists, her voice full of resolve. We've seen what happens when we speak up. People listen. We can make real change in how stores treat Black customers. But it's not just about stores. This is about the system, about changing the way society views people of color. It's about being seen as human. Derrick, speaking up, his voice firm. It's about accountability. It's about making sure that no one else has to go through what we went through. We're just two kids, but this fight is bigger than us. We have to fight for every person who's ever been unfairly accused, treated like a criminal, or ignored. Tasha and Derrick were no longer just victims of racial profiling. They were now activists, leaders in the fight for justice. The video had gone viral, and the public was outraged, but the real battle was in a long-term fight for change. They knew that this wasn't going to be easy, but they were determined. Cynthia, speaking firmly, looking at Tasha and Derrick, the media is on our side, but we have to make sure we keep the momentum going. We've already seen some retailers change their policies. But this isn't just about changing policies in one store. This is a nationwide issue. We need to be in those boardrooms pushing for change. Cut to Tasha and Derrick at a rally organized by community activists. They stand on stage with a megaphone, addressing the crowd of supporters. The energy is high, and the crowd cheers as they speak. Tasha, raising the megaphone, addressing the crowd. This is just the beginning. We won in court, but this fight is far from over. We need policy change at every level. We need to hold people accountable, from the mall managers to the law enforcement officers. We're not going to stop until we see real reform. Derrick, standing beside Tasha, his voice clear and powerful. We are not backing down. We are going to keep fighting for justice. We will not let this continue. This is for every person who's been profiled, every person who's been treated like a criminal because of their skin color. This is for everyone who's ever been marginalized. As Tasha and Derrick continue to rally the masses, their story spread far beyond the courtroom. Activists, celebrities, and influencers began speaking out, using their platform to amplify the call for justice and change. The movement was gaining traction, but there was still a long way to go. Tasha, speaking directly to the crowd at a rally, "We didn't ask for this fight, but we're not going to walk away. This is our future. This is your future. We have to make sure no one else has to face what we faced. Racial profiling doesn't belong anywhere. We won't stop until everyone is treated equally." Derrick, passionately, addressing the crowd. "We are standing up for change. We are standing up for our rights. And we need all of you to stand with us. We need to take this fight from the streets to every store, every institution. Together, we will make sure that racial profiling ends, not just in one store, but across the entire country." Cut to news coverage of the growing movement, with clips of various activists and protesters marching in different cities, all chanting in unison, "No justice, no peace." News anchor, TV report, urgent and fast-paced. Protests continue to grow across the country, sparked by the viral video of Tasha and Derrick's encounter at Walmart. The hashtag Justice for Tasha and Derrick is trending worldwide, and activists are demanding that retailers implement anti-racial profiling policies. The fight for justice has become a nationwide movement. Activist leader, speaking in an interview, "This case is just the beginning. We're calling for national reform. We're pushing for policy changes in stores, hospitals, and public spaces to prevent racial discrimination at every level." Tasha and Derrick have sparked a movement, and now it's time for real action. Tasha, in an interview, looking confident but exhausted. "This is for everyone who's been treated unfairly. This fight isn't just for us. It's for every person who has been targeted because of their race. We won't stop until we see change." Derrick, smiling slightly, but his eyes determined. "We didn't do this alone. This fight is bigger than just us. It's for everyone who has been treated unfairly. We're going to make sure they never do this again." Tasha and Derrick became symbols of something bigger than just themselves. Their fight had sparked a movement. People were listening. Retailers were being forced to act. But the true test was whether the system would finally change. Tasha, to activists, "We need to hold people accountable. We can't just let this slide anymore. Racial profiling isn't just happening to us. It's happening to everyone." Derrick, "We have to make sure change happens. No more excuses. This needs to be addressed at the highest level." Cynthia, "We've won the battle, but the war is still on. We have to push for reform in every corner of society." Tasha, addressing the crowd, "We're not backing down. We have to make sure this never happens again." Derrick, passionate, "We're fighting for our rights, and we'll keep fighting until every person is treated equally." Activist, "It's time to make a stand. The time for silence is over. We won't stop until we see justice." Tasha, to camera, "This fight is for every person who has been racially profiled in a store, hospital, or public place." Cynthia, strong and hopeful, "The victory here is not just for Tasha and Derrick. It's for everyone who's ever been treated unfairly." Derrick, "They've underestimated us. We're not just going to walk away. We're going to fight." Martha, apologizing at a press conference, I made a mistake, and I've learned that I need to do better. Tasha, determined apologies are not enough. We need policy change and accountability. Bystander, what we witness here today is a powerful moment for change. Derrick, calm but firm, racial profiling is a problem that we all need to address. We can't afford to be silent anymore. Tasha, we have to make sure that no one has to go through this again. This is just the beginning. Martha, reluctantly, I've realized that there's much more to learn. I've made mistakes, but I'm going to make it right. Suspense and call to action. This fight isn't over yet. Tasha and Derrick's victory wasn't just a personal win. It was a call to action for all of us. It's time to make a change. If you believe in justice, if you believe that racial profiling must end, then stand with them. We can make this world better. Subscribe, like, and share this video. Comment below. What are you doing to help fight for equality in your community? Together, we can make a difference. In the aftermath of Tasha and Derrick's court case, the media attention begins to skyrocket. News outlets, social media, and public figures are all discussing the case, with many supporting Tasha and Derrick's fight for justice. Martha's behavior and the mall's racial profiling come under scrutiny, and the activists push for systemic change. Tasha and Derrick are now recognized as symbols of resilience and change. They're appearing on talk shows, meeting with influential figures, and leading protests. Tasha and Derrick were no longer just victims of a false accusation. They had become the face of a movement. The moment the verdict was announced, it didn't just spark the public's outrage. It ignited a nationwide conversation about racial profiling, equality, and the fight for justice. Cut to a TV interview with Tasha and Derrick sitting side by side. The host speaks directly to the camera, her voice filled with empathy and curiosity. TV host, addressing the camera, welcoming viewers. Good evening, everyone. We have an incredible story for you tonight. Tasha and Derrick, two young teenagers from Walmart, have become the faces of a nationwide movement against racial profiling and discrimination. Their story has ignited a spark for justice and change across the country. We're honored to have them in the studio tonight. Tasha, looking into the camera, her voice calm but resolute. Thank you for having us. I want people to understand that this fight is not just ours. It's about every person who's been unfairly treated in stores, in schools, and hospitals. This happens to so many of us every single day. Derrick, speaking with determination. We didn't ask for this fight, but we're not going to walk away. This fight is bigger than us. We are doing this for everyone who has been treated like a criminal simply for being black. It's time for change. The media frenzy surrounding Tasha and Derrick's case continued to grow. News outlets across the country were covering their story. But the real change would come from the streets, from the people who have been invisible for so long. Social media influencer on a live stream, speaking passionately. Racial profiling has been happening for centuries. We all know that, but what we saw with Tasha and Derrick, that's the wake-up call we needed. If you don't think this is an issue, you need to check your privilege. We're all in this together. Activist leader on the news, in front of a protest. This isn't just a win for Tasha and Derrick. This is a win for everyone who's been treated unfairly. We need change in the system. We need policy reform in retail, hospitals, and police. Racial profiling ends now. Tasha, visibly moved by the support, speaking in an interview, I never imagined that our story would be this big, but I'm glad it is. This is for everyone who's been ignored. We need to raise our voices. We need to stand together. Derrick, addressing the crowd at a rally, we will not be silent anymore. We will stand up and we will demand justice. It's time to end racial profiling and create real change. The protests were spreading and the momentum was unstoppable. The nation had heard the message, but would it be enough to make real change? Could the fight for justice be sustained long enough to spark systemic reform? Tasha, on TV, we're not just two teenagers anymore. We're fighting for a cause that's bigger than us. We want everyone to know that this fight matters. Derrick, on TV, this fight isn't just ours. It's for everyone who's been treated unfairly, everyone who's been profiled. We have to keep pushing for change. TV host, what's next for you two? What changes do you hope to see moving forward? Tasha, we hope to see real change. We're demanding that businesses and institutions stop racial profiling. We want to make sure no one else has to go through what we did. Derrick, our story isn't unique. It happens to so many people every day. We need to change the system, from how stores treat people of color to how the police respond to minorities. Activist, racial profiling happens every day. But Tasha and Derrick have shown us that we can fight back. We can win. Derrick, speaking at a rally, this fight isn't over. We won this case, but there's still so much work to do. We can't stop now. Tasha, speaking to crowd, we are not backing down. We will fight until we see change. This is just the beginning. TV reporter, the video of Tasha and Derrick went viral, and now their case is sparking national conversations. But what happens next? Will the mall change its policies? Will retail companies finally address racial profiling? Tasha, speaking to an interviewer, we've won, but the real battle is just starting. We need to push for policy reform and demand accountability from every company. Derrick, speaking to reporters, we're not asking for sympathy. We're asking for change. We're asking for people to understand that this is a problem that affects all of us. Cynthia, speaking to the press, this victory shows that we have power. We will keep fighting until every person is treated equally. Martha, speaking in an interview, I've learned a lot from this case. I'll never make that mistake again. I see things differently now. Tasha, to Martha, apologies are not enough. What we need is systemic change and accountability. We won't stop until that happens. Bystander, speaking to another shopper, this happens all the time, but now the world is watching. We can't let this continue. Protester, we're marching for everyone who's been treated like this. We're marching for justice. Activist, leading a march, we are fighting for the rights of everyone. This isn't just about two teens. This is about all of us. Tasha, this is bigger than us. This fight isn't just for us. It's for everyone who's been mistreated. Derrick, addressing crowd, we are changing the world. We're doing this together. And we won't stop until everyone is treated with respect. Latoya, Tasha's mother, I'm proud of my kids. They've shown me that you can fight for what's right no matter how hard it gets. The call for change was gaining momentum. Tasha and Derrick had sparked something bigger than themselves, but it would take real activism, policy changes, and unwavering determination to see the battle through. The world was watching, and it was up to them to make sure the change they fought for didn't just fade away. This is where the real fight begins. Tasha and Derrick have started a movement, but we all must keep pushing for change. We all have a role to play. If you believe in justice, in ending racial profiling, and in equality for all, subscribe, like, and share this video. Comment below, what will you do to fight racial profiling? Together, we can bring about real change. Tasha and Derrick are back at home, reflecting on the journey they've taken since the trial. The media attention has died down, but their fight for racial equality has only just begun. They've been invited to speak at activist conferences, appear on news networks, and hold community rallies. Meanwhile, the pressure on Walmart continues to grow. Martha is facing repercussions for her actions, and the store has been forced to implement new policies regarding racial profiling. But Tasha and Derrick know that true change won't come until systemic issues are addressed, and they're not backing down. After the court case, Tasha and Derrick didn't rest. Their fight for justice had become a fight for change, not just for themselves, but for everyone who had ever been treated unfairly because of the color of their skin. What started as an isolated incident at Walmart had now grown into a movement that reached across the nation. Their victory was just the beginning. Tasha, looking at Derrick, her voice steady but tinged with fatigue. Derrick, I keep thinking about how far this has gone. It started with just us, and now we're part of something huge. But I don't know if it's enough yet. Derrick, looking at her, his face serious. It's never enough. We can't stop. We've got the world's attention now. We got to keep pushing, keep fighting until we see real change. Narrator, rising intensity. Tasha and Derrick knew the work wasn't over. The case was a victory, yes, but it was just a small piece of a much larger puzzle. The public support was overwhelming, but the system they were trying to change was vast and deeply rooted. For every law that changed, there was a whole network of policies and mindsets that needed to be reformed. Tasha, standing up, pacing in thought. We can't just rest on this one victory. What happens next? We've inspired change in some stores. But what about the others? What about the police? The hospitals? The schools? We need to make sure it's not just about one place changing, but all of society. Derrick, leaning forward, his tone serious. It's not about Walmart anymore. It's about the entire system. This wasn't just a case of a store manager making a mistake. This is about how institutions view us, as a threat, as criminals, just because of how we look. Tasha and Derrick weren't alone in this fight. Activists around the country were rising up, inspired by their courage. Celebrities were speaking out, journalists were covering the movement, and everyday people were joining the protests. The movement was gaining momentum, but now it was time for real, lasting change. Protester in the crowd, passionately speaking to a reporter. We've had enough. We are done being treated like criminals just because of our skin color. This is not just about Tasha and Derrick. This is about all of us. Activist leader, speaking at a rally, microphone in hand. Tasha and Derrick's victory is our victory. We will not stop until we see systemic change in every corner of society. No more racial profiling, no more discrimination, and no more silence. The time is now. But as the movement grew, so did the opposition. Those who benefited from the status quo were reluctant to change. Tasha and Derrick knew that real change meant addressing the system itself, and that was going to be an even tougher battle. The fight for justice was far from over. Tasha, speaking directly into the camera at a rally, voice shaking with emotion. I'm tired of being afraid. I'm tired of seeing my people treated like criminals for no reason. This fight isn't just for us. It's for everyone who's been treated like this. We can't stop now. Derrick, stepping forward, his voice full of passion. We've already won a victory, but we won't stop until we make sure this never happens again. We need to change laws, policies, and the way people think. We will not stop. Martha, speaking nervously, her voice faltering. I've learned a lot, and I deeply regret my actions. I want to apologize to Tasha and Derrick, and to everyone who was affected. But the truth is, I was just doing my job. I didn't mean to cause harm. Journalist, interrupting. Do you think you acted based on bias? Did you see Tasha and Derrick as a threat because of their skin color? Martha, sighing, avoiding eye contact. I didn't mean to, but I see now that I made a huge mistake. I wasn't thinking clearly. I was reacting out of fear and assumptions, and I regret that deeply. Tasha, at a rally, raising her voice to the crowd. Apologies are not enough. We need real change in how people are treated. We need laws that protect people from racial profiling and discrimination. We won't stop until we have justice. Derrick, standing beside her, voice unwavering. This is about respect. This is about being seen as human. We need to make sure every person who walks into a store, a hospital, a police station, is treated with dignity. We will keep fighting until we see it happen. The movement wasn't just about winning a case. It was about transforming society. And Tasha and Derrick weren't going to rest until real change took hold. As they continued to speak out, the pressure on policymakers grew. Tasha, at a press conference, speaking to lawmakers, we need you to act. We need you to make sure that no one else faces the kind of treatment we did. We need to reform the way we treat each other. Derrick, racial profiling is not just a problem for one store. It's a national problem. We need to address it in every institution. Their voices were being heard. Tasha and Derrick had started something that couldn't be ignored. The fight for racial justice was bigger than any one individual. It was about a collective movement of change that would sweep the country. Tasha and Derrick's fight isn't over. They've inspired a movement, and we need you to be part of it. We can't stop until every person is treated equally, with respect. If you believe in justice, if you believe in equality for all, make sure to subscribe, like, and share this video. Comment below. What are you doing to help stop racial profiling in your community? Together, we can create change. Tasha and Derrick enter a large meeting room, where they will meet with influential politicians, activists, and community leaders. They are now national figures, having captured the attention of the media, and their fight for racial justice is being taken seriously. With the pressure mounting on lawmakers, they are now being asked to be part of the conversation on systemic reform. After the case, the fight didn't just stay in courts. It entered the very heart of the system. Tasha and Derrick's battle for justice became a movement, one that was changing minds, hearts, and the policies that shaped the world around them. But the road to change was far from easy. The fight was bigger than just two teens. It was now about transforming the system itself. Cynthia, leaning in, whispering to Tasha and Derrick, "This is it. This is where we can make a real difference. They're here because of you, too. You've sparked a change, and now it's time to push for policy reform." Tasha, nervously but determined, "I know we've come this far, but it feels like there's still so much left to do. Where do we even start?" Derrick, rubbing his hands together, looking out at the group, "We start by making them listen. This isn't just about what happened in the mall. It's about changing the system that allowed this to happen in the first place. We need laws that protect everyone, not just those in power." The stakes were high, and Tasha and Derrick knew that they were standing on the front lines of something bigger than just their case. This was about change. Real, lasting change. Politician 1, leaning forward, addressing the group. "We've seen the video, and we've heard the outrage. We have to do something. But policy doesn't change overnight. It takes time, resources, and the will to stand up to the people in power who benefit from the status quo." Activist leader passionately, "This isn't just about the law, though. It's about changing hearts and minds. We have to start with education. We need to reform the way we teach kids about race, how we train police, how businesses handle complaints. We need systemic reform in every sector." Tasha, speaking up, her voice strong and clear, "I agree, but we can't keep talking about change. We need action. We can't just focus on policy. We need to hold businesses accountable for the way they treat people of color, especially when they're being accused without reason." Derrick, his voice firm, addressing the group, "We need to make sure the system is held accountable. If we're going to make a difference, we have to do this together. It's not just about one case. It's about changing the whole system." Tasha and Derrick were fighting for more than themselves now. They were standing up for everyone who had ever been mistreated. They were taking on a system that had been broken for too long, and they were determined to make sure this fight didn't end here. Politician 2, hesitant, looking at the group, "The truth is, policy change takes time. It's not as simple as passing one law. We need to gather data, do studies, and address public opinion before we can make lasting change." Derrick, interrupting, more passionate, "That's the problem. You keep saying it will take time, but we don't have time. Every day someone is getting racially profiled. Every single day, someone is being treated like they don't belong just because of the color of their skin. We don't need another study. We need action now." Tasha, speaking with conviction, "This is it. We can't keep waiting for things to change. The change has to start today. If we don't act now, we'll never change anything. We're done waiting." Cynthia, standing up, addressing the group, "We've seen the data. We know this is happening every day. We need to make sure that our children, our families, and our communities are treated fairly. This isn't just a matter of policy. This is about human rights." As the meeting continues, Tasha and Derrick feel the weight of what lies ahead. Their fight is not over, but they know one thing for sure: they're not backing down. "Tasha, we can't wait any longer. We need to hold these businesses accountable for the way they treat people of color." Derrick, "It's bigger than just us. This is for every black person who's ever been mistreated." Activist leader, "Racial profiling is a symptom of a much larger issue. We need to address education, policing, and economic inequality." Tasha, looking determined, "This fight is bigger than just a single store. It's about society as a whole." Derrick, "I'm tired of waiting. We need to act now. We need to show them that we mean business." Cynthia, "We've won in the courts. Now, we need to win the hearts and minds of the public. This is about real systemic change. Politician 1, hesitant policy change takes time, though we need to gather data. Tasha, we don't need more studies. We need action. We need it now. Derrick, people are suffering now. Every day, people of color are being targeted because of their skin. We can't wait any longer. Martha's lawyer, the public opinion is on their side. The momentum is building. We need to address this, or we'll get out of hand. Tasha, speaking to a reporter, we didn't ask for this fight, but now we have a responsibility to stand up for every person who's been treated like we have. Cynthia, change won't come overnight, but we've already started the conversation. Now we need the action. Activist leader, this isn't just about changing laws. It's about changing the way we see each other, how we treat one another. Tasha, we've already seen progress. We can make sure this keeps moving forward. Derrick, this is bigger than just our story. We need to make sure that future generations don't face the same challenges. Community leader, we need to make sure policy reforms include not just businesses, but also how we teach children about race and respect. Derrick, this is the first victory, but the work is just starting. We have to keep pushing for real change. Tasha, nodding to Derrick, together we will keep fighting. We will never stop. Martha, in a press interview, regretful, I've made a mistake. I didn't see the truth until now. I've learned that I need to change. Tasha, apologies are not enough. Accountability is what we need. This is just the beginning. As Tasha and Derrick continue their fight for justice, they know that they have already sparked a change. But the real challenge lies in making sure the world stays awake and keeps pushing for systemic reform. They know they can't stop now, not until they see change in every corner of society. Tasha and Derrick's journey has sparked a nationwide movement, but we need you to be part of it. Stand up for justice, stand up for equality, and stand up for what's right. If you believe in fighting against racial profiling and creating a fairer world, subscribe, like, and share this video. Comment below, what will you do to stand against racial profiling? Together, we can make real change. The fight isn't over. After an intense series of discussions, public outcry, and months of activism, the moment of change has arrived. Tasha and Derrick's voices have resonated across the nation, leading to legislative change and corporate reform. The public response has been overwhelming, and the systemic racism they fought against is beginning to crack. This is a moment when justice is finally served, not just for Tasha and Derrick, but for every person who has faced racial profiling and discrimination in the past. Tasha and Derrick's fight for justice has become more than just a victory for them. It's a victory for everyone who has ever been discriminated against. They've changed the narrative. Their story has inspired policy reforms, sparked nationwide activism, and proven that when people stand up for what's right, change is possible. Cynthia, addressing Tasha and Derrick with a proud smile, you two did it. You didn't just win your case, you changed the world. This isn't just a court victory. This is a national victory for racial justice. Tasha, smiling, exhausted but happy. We didn't just do this for us. We did it for every person who's ever been profiled, who's ever been treated like a criminal without cause. We can't stop now. We need to make sure this is just the beginning of real change. Derrick, nodding in agreement, voice strong. This is just the start. We've fought for our rights, and we've won. Now, the work isn't over. It's just beginning. But we can celebrate this victory knowing that justice was served. The court ruling was more than just a legal victory. It was a symbol of change. Martha and Walmart were forced to take responsibility for their actions, and policies were rewritten. The system that had allowed racial profiling to persist for so long was now beginning to shift. Tasha, speaking to a reporter in front of a crowd, we didn't ask for this fight, but now that it's here, we're not backing down. We're going to keep pushing for real change. We want to see a world where people like us are not judged by our skin color. Derrick, standing beside her, speaking to the reporter, this isn't just about Walmart. This is about changing the system. We've already seen real reform in some places. We need to make sure it happens everywhere. We won't stop. The fight for justice had just begun, But Tasha and Derrick's victory sent a clear message to the world. Racism will not be tolerated, and justice will prevail. The world was changing, and they were at the heart of it. The final chapter of Tasha and Derrick's journey unfolds in a major press conference where they meet with influential lawmakers, activists, and community leaders. Tasha and Derrick are invited to speak about the changes that have already started to take place in retail policies, police procedures, and public spaces. The victory has paved the way for national reform, and Tasha and Derrick now have the opportunity to push for long-term change that will ensure no one else faces the same injustices they did. The fight for justice had taken on a life of its own. With every step Tasha and Derrick took, the nation's eyes were watching. Activists were pushing for national policy reform, and government officials were acknowledging the need for systemic change. The movement they had sparked was unstoppable. Cynthia, speaking to them as they walked to the stage. This is it. The world is watching. You've already made a huge impact, but this is where we push for real, lasting change. Let your voices be heard today. Tasha, nervous but determined. I've never imagined that it would get this big. We didn't want this. We just wanted to be treated like any other person, to shop without being accused of something we didn't do. Derrick, nodding in agreement. But now we're here, and now we have to make sure no one else ever faces the same kind of discrimination again. This isn't just about us anymore. It's about everyone. Tasha and Derrick step up to the podium, and the crowd grows silent. They both take a moment, collecting their thoughts before speaking. Tasha, speaking to the camera and the audience, her voice clear and strong. We've seen the change that can happen when people stand up for what's right. But we need more than just a courtroom victory. We need policy reform. We need laws that ensure this doesn't happen again. No one should have to experience the humiliation we did just because of how we look. Derrick, standing beside Tasha, speaking confidently. We have to change the way the system works. We need real accountability from the people who are in charge, from the stores to the police to the hospitals and beyond. It's not just about one store. It's about changing the system itself. The press conference marked the beginning of a new chapter. The national conversation about racial profiling was no longer a whisper. It was a call to action. Tasha and Derrick knew the fight wasn't over, but they also knew that their victory had sparked the change they had been fighting for. Tasha, finishing her statement with passion. We won today, but we can't stop here. We're going to keep fighting for the right for every person to walk into a store, a hospital, a public space, and be treated with respect and dignity. We can't stop now. Derrick, smiling, determined. This fight isn't over. We've just begun, and we won't stop until every person is treated equally, regardless of their skin color. This movement has just begun, and we need you to join us. Tasha and Derrick's journey was not just a victory for them. It was a victory for everyone who had been unjustly accused, unfairly treated, and marginalized. And their fight would go on as long as it took to make the world fair for everyone. Tasha and Derrick's fight isn't over. We've won, but now it's time to ensure lasting change. Join us in the fight for racial justice. Stand up, speak out, make your voice heard. Together, we can make sure that no one else ever has to face the same struggles. Subscribe, like, and share this video. Comment below, how will you help fight racial profiling? Together, we can create a world of equality.